ecology, and she feels so badly. She said he wants me to use.
Yeah. I had a boring afternoon, so I decided to look it up to see what was going on and
Good for you.
found more information than I needed.
Yeah, well, that's what I found too.
15 or 20 minutes, then we went over to zone 7 or
These-
something.
Well, this is really interesting. This MO is so,
When I say we.
okay, this was the letter.
That's
Why is it Maureen? Okay, these are the letters in support of her. And it also the same thing at the top. You signed.
we had those from 7.
Do you remember somebody else? doing it?
High class. Part of the levy.
They're smart. They're all the same.
They don't take.
These are all the same.
1411.
This is unbelievable. Oh my gosh, there's like 20 of them. There's a whole bunch here.
We've got.
That's a charming.
We have good.
It's all the same.
That's it. Yeah, they're the same message. And they're fine.
If you want to get to the levy, they can use to get there, so they can get through equipment fast.
Betsy, did you count these?
So
No. Must be about 20.
Some people compare this to the.
So what are we supposed to do here? Like this? Just know it?
Yeah.
That's nice. Then move out.
And of course,
A long recovery, isn't it? Like 6 weeks or?
Well, probably 6 to 8 weeks before I can walk, like the dogs.
Knees are.
And then, probably 3 months before I'm gonna be, be like go to school and stuff. Figures a year for full recovery. And I said, does that mean I'll feel like I'm 18? He said, no.
Really?
Probably.
But anyway, John, I will start earlier.
Okay, all right, you guys ready to start? Okay. Sorry, I missed something. My bad. Good evening, everyone. We have 5 people, 7 people in the room. And how many people do we have on Zoom? 12, okay, so close to 20. Good evening and sorry. Can you guys on the Zoom hear me now? Judy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. My bad. Good evening and welcome to the May meeting of the Nepenthe Board of Directors. We have, well, it's not a terribly long agenda, but a couple of business items with regarding to paint and homeowner planting might take a little bit of time. And before we start, let me just say a couple of things. I hope many of you, all of you, were able to attend the candidates forum on Saturday. My kudos to the nominating committee and the outreach committee. I think it was well done. And reminder, please vote. You should have your ballots by now. They are due no later than 5 o'clock on May 25th, at which time they will be counted and the winners will be announced. At which time this board will no longer exist and the new board will take over immediately, at which time the new board will go into Betsy's office, I guess, and decide how we're going to organize ourselves. That's the way the bylaws are written, and that's the way it's to work. I'd like to also give some kudos to the neighbor to neighbor group and the outreach committee for the rained out Easter egg hunt. Super bummer. I mean, they did so much work and they were all ready to go and it rained. And so we had a replacement Easter egg hunt where people were able to come to the clubhouse. I don't know, Betsy, do you know what the turnout was for the?
I don't know, but Cheryl's here if you want to ask.
Cheryl, are you here?
I don't know, but there were a lot of really cute little kids
Yeah.
dressed up in bunny ears and Easter dresses.
Cheryl, are you on, Cheryl?
I am, and I didn't count. You know, we were just so, let's get this, here's something, some wonderful stories. And if I may, Diana Vizard prepared 10 special eggs with $1 in each one. And one of those eggs ended up going to a family of immigrant children who'd never heard of a spring egg hunt.
Oh,
And they were so excited. That child,
wow.
this is through Bonnie Jacobson, was so excited. It didn't know what to do. They got $1. They had money. So
Wow.
it was not a lot of children, but those that were there, I think, had a good time.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then the next day we had a meet and greet on the, I guess I'll call it the Vanderbilt Swarthmore Greenbelt. I counted about 30 people and hopefully we'll continue to have those. Those are great community building activities. So, pardon me while I go through the agenda here. First off, let me kind of, again, set the guidelines for testimony. Attendees, Zoom or in person, are welcome to speak. Have regularly 3 opportunities. We have 2 homeowners forums, one at the beginning of the meeting, one at the end of the meeting. And then also, if anyone would like to speak on an agenda item, you will be recognized. Couple of guidelines here. You'll be limited to 3 minutes. Ask you to be concise and courteous And make sure you introduce yourself at the beginning for the record so we have a record of who spoke. So I hope that's clear for everyone. We had an executive session this afternoon, talking about the kind of things we talk about in executive session that are really not appropriate for speaking in person. This is delinquency and disciplinary actions and some contract formation issues. And we met from 1 to about 3:15, and now we're back. We're getting to the agenda item now, but in the committee updates, and rather than call in committees directly, if there is a committee chair here that would like to make a report, Steve, would you like to speak?
Yes, John.
This is
Is
Steve
this on?
Hoffman.
Yes,
Yeah.
Good. Okay. If you go to page 16 of your packet, those are the recommendations that we make to you. The practice is that I write up the minutes the day after the meeting and people have a chance to look at it. That third bullet point was not put to a formal vote, but it's as far as our discussion could take us that day. So I know that's on your agenda tonight, and you can decide what you want to do with it and give us further instructions.
Steve,
16.
for those here or on Zoom who do not have the agenda or have not
Okay, we
seen
can put
it,
Yeah, it's on the,
Yes, let me
it's on the
know.
screen share up there. There we go. Third bullet point at the bottom.
okay, this is the charge that the committee had to start working on some guidelines for owner planting.
Right. And that's
Right.
on your new
That is on the
business.
agenda, which we will address as we move through the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Steve?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that Emily wanted to speak and Cheryl also.
Okay. Emily,
Yes.
you have the floor.
Thank you. This is Emily Ma Nakanishi giving an update for Outreach Committee. Our meeting minutes are captured in the packet. Just wanted to give everyone an update that we are focused on planning the Nepenthe Association's 50th anniversary celebration.
Emily, may I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah,
We're having a hard time hearing you.
sorry, I'm on the soccer field. Can you hear me?
Much, she's where?
Okay,
Oh, much better.
you don't need to see me in person. I'm like in the direct sun. Anyways, our committee is in the process of planning the upcoming 50th anniversary celebration. And that's going to take place on Sunday, June 12th, 4 to 6 p.m. There's going to be more to come, but we are soliciting photos and stories of Nepenthe from throughout the year. So if you could submit those either to the front office or through our email, that would be great. We'd like to have like a slideshow during the event just to show Nepenthe over the years. We did reach out to our business partners and we've been able to secure some sponsorships. So we have received $3,000 in donations for this event, which is fabulous. And I just wanted to give a special shout out to them, Carson, Elite, Kelly Moore, and our attorney, Brad.
Yay.
Yay. So are there any questions for me?
Questions from the directors? Emily, thank you very much. Go score a goal.
Oh, I'm just sitting here. I'm not doing anything. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
I understand Cheryl would like to speak.
Hi, everyone. I just want to give a brief report. We had an ice cream root beer float in a picnic at the playground this last Sunday. I'm on an ad hoc committee to raise funds to support further repairs and maintenance of the playground because it's a community resource, not one that's just for the villages. And I thought I'd give everyone an update that the current the funds that we've currently earned and donated are $534.45. 230 of that roughly was from the root beer float event.
Great. Do you know what what's the schedule on kind of culminating this effort, Cheryl?
I do not have one right now, John. I'm meeting with Lyle Esterkin, who's the gentleman who's kind of organized this refurbishment of the playground. We know that we have about the lowest bid so far in doing the wall that needs to be repaired is $3,500. And so we will be working towards that goal. And I'm anticipating it probably a year to raise that kind of money, but we will be looking at more fundraising things that are higher volume, I would say, over the root beer floats.
Okay. All right, thanks for the update.
Mhm.
Any other committee chairs wish to report?
Yes, John, hi, this is Susan Timmer. I
Hello,
thought I'd just
Susan.
give a brief update because our minutes didn't make it into the board packet.
For those
Um,
who are not aware, Susan is the Finance Committee Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Sorry about that. Yeah, so most of what we covered in our finance committee meeting, or we were receiving updates that you're already aware of, but I did just want to let you know that we were apprised of the fact that the reserve contribution was not made last month because of problems with cash flow. But to also let you know that Betsy had a meeting the following day, which is last Tuesday, with the controller from First Service to work out a system to prevent that from happening again. And that we will be discussing it in more detail at the next meeting at the end of May. Any questions about that?
Seeing none, I guess not.
Okay, well, that's the only thing that I really wanted to bring to your attention. The rest is, you'll see in the minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you.
I think we've covered the committees, at least those who are here. Okay, all right, let's move on with the agenda then. Reports. Betsy, can you kind of run this?
Yeah, and
Item,
I
please.
I will be brief. I just wanted to point out to you, you may have already received this invitation, directors, in your email about the board summit. This is a First Service residential hosted event, and you're welcome to RSVP to me if you'd like. Also, in my operations report, just kind of wanted to go over a little bit about what we've been doing. As you know, the ballots have been mailed and they are now being received. I still have not had a response back from the city regarding the billing for the water meters. So that is still something that we're monitoring. And
That's
hoping
not
to-
very helpful, city.
No, it isn't. We're, as we've discussed before, we're hoping that they'll just hold off until January. So that's our goal. Our normal facilities have been moving right along. We did get all of the LED light bulbs that were ordered. So these are the brighter LED. And I think on your agenda later, you'll be discussing how exactly those light
Sure.
bulbs are going to get into the light
And
poles.
Peter Pelkover, you're on, aren't you?
He is here.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll be calling on you, sir.
Yeah. And then as you know, John, but maybe the other directors, we have a tentative timeline for the phase 1 siding, fencing, and painting project. You will be empowered later in this meeting, John, to approve the request for proposals right around in this time frame. Paul Reeves, the construction manager, is going to publish those out on May 16th. He'll be conducting bid walks through June 20th. And we hope that at your July 6th meeting, you'll be selecting a contractor for the repairs.
And I'll,
And
I'll,
then-
I'll get into that more in more detail
Yeah,
when we get to
and-
that agenda.
yeah.
Okay.
And then that'll be followed by, of course, painting proposals when we're ready for that. I did send out requests for seal coats to the following asphalt companies And again, will be on your agenda on the 6th.
Betsy, on that one, I thought we agreed last year to just do the driveways and not the streets.
Well, I have told them that in the RFP, so.
Oh, you
if
have? Okay, all
yeah,
right, okay,
yep. So
all
they're
right.
going to give separate pricing for all pieces
Excellent,
in
perfect.
case we
Okay, thank
decide we
you.
want to do that. Yeah. Grounds, the Carson service schedule is in your board packet, which is a great thing to know month by month where they're working, what they're doing. And the tree remediation work is going to be starting in the next few days. That's just the ones that have been approved. I know that zones 3 and 4 are still waiting for Garth Ruffner's feedback. And we are also waiting his feedback on zone 7. I do touch on the cash flow in the operating fund that has been a little bit of a concern.
Betsy, is this on?
Yeah.
I noted that that area in zone 7's already been cleared.
Correct. And that was, yes.
So we're still awaiting his feedback for the planting of it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It won't be planted until we've heard from him. And I think that's probably about it. I did include, there's the service schedule from Carson. He provides this every month, which is very helpful. Lets you know, for example, on May 30th, they will not be here because of Memorial Day. And then that paving RFP is also in your packet, so you can see what we're expecting them. And their bid form does ask them to specify, seal coating, repairs, and then just the alleys, as noted on the alley list. So I hope that we will get some good numbers for that. Yeah,
I guess we'll see. Those guys in that industry are super busy right now, so.
I
guess
know.
We'll see what happens.
I know.
Unfortunately, when they're busy, they're either can't bid or they bid and they bid high.
Right.
guess we'll
right,
find out,
right,
yeah.
Right. We shall see.
Okay.
Okay, and that
Okay.
is it. So.
All right. Thank you,
consent
Betsy.
calendar.
Any questions from the directors?
No.
All right.
Okay, thank
It is now time for the first of 2 homeowner forums. Anyone here in person wish to speak? Marcy, please, introduce yourself.
My name is Marcy Best, just a resident. I recently became aware of the impending doom, if you want to see it in that light, of a new process that's going to be happening in Sacramento. In 2016, Governor Brown signed a resolution to have organic waste recycling done in California. In some cities are much farther ahead than Sacramento, but for us, it is going to start July 1st. And what is going to happen is sometime in June, you will receive a new bin, a new garbage bin. And so it will look like you will now have 3 bins for your garage. And you also can ask for a countertop container. They are not automatically going to put this out and put one on by your garage. You have to ask for one, but they are going to deliver these containers. And so all of your food waste will go into these containers and be picked up every week with your regular trash. And they will not pick up your regular trash if it has garbage in it.
As
So-
in garbage, as in food waste.
as in food waste. So, is there any questions? Did
The
anybody-
solution is to just eat it all.
Yeah.
The solution is to eat it all.
That's true.
I mean, we do waste a lot of food here.
So when I looked at this the first time, first of all, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is another bin, 3 bins. But the other thing is there's some recommendations on the instructions that say, please do not use your garbage disposal
Yes.
because the food turns into gray water, which has to go into the landfill. So it's going to be really interesting how they enforce this.
Yes, and there are other excuse for that is it wastes too much water to use your garbage disposal. So it's a water savings.
What do you think, Betsy? I think that should be in the newsletter. Thank you, Marcy. Oh my gosh, we're a heads up. That's great.
No, I don't think there's.
Oh, there is a cost for the third bin, $10.02.
Oh my
A
God.
month?
And for the first year, and then it ratchets up to about $13.50 over a couple years.
Was that a month or annual?
Oh, do we have to put it out every week?
Yes. Well, you don't have to if you don't have anything in it.
Okay. Other questions from the directors? Marcy, thank you. Excellent report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Tim Taylor. My wife and I live at 1104 Dunbarton Circle. My letter to the board is in your packet, pages 41 and 42. And my request is very straightforward, very simple. I'm asking for the board to approve replacement of a 40-foot shade tree that was removed in the spring of 2021 from the common area directly west of my patio. The grounds committee voted in their April 2022 meeting not to replace the tree. And they acted in April after I had requested at their March meeting that they reconsider their prior decision not to replace the tree. The problem is that throughout the summer of 2021, July, August, and September, we roasted in our patio. It was very hot. We lost a lot of trees, a lot of plants. We basically couldn't use our patio in the late afternoon and evening. So I'm asking that you reconsider this decision not to replace the tree. If it makes a difference, my wife and I are willing to pay for purchase and planting of an arborist approved tree.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Tim. I actually went by and looked at your house when I saw your letter, and I can see your point.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Any comments from the other directors? Steve, would you like to give us your feedback on this?
Yeah, actually, Tim and I are very close neighbors. He lives right across the alley from me. It was a close vote in our committee at our April 21st meeting. It was 5 voted not to recommend a tree, and 4 of us, myself included, voted that we thought a tree would be a good idea. So, I mean, my own personal feeling is that Tim and his wife Candace have a legitimate problem, and a shade tree would solve it. Over time, it may take a while for the foliage to get great enough to give them relief, but I think it would be in fairly short order.
What was the objection?
Pardon me?
What was the objection of those who voted no?
Simply that the area looked good as it was, and a new tree was not necessary. You know, we don't put a tree whenever we remove a tree. That doesn't necessarily mean that we put another tree in the same spot.
Understand.
Well, I was curious, is that the usual process? Do you usually do a vote, or is it usually the ground stewards that recommend? I wasn't sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, you took a vote of the whole committee, and I was curious whether it's normally the ground stewards that do the recommendation or the whole committee.
The ground stewards' opinions carry weight, but not, what their opinion isn't always dispositive. So in this case, both ground stewards advocated for a new shade tree, but there were folks in other parts, other members of the committee who went by, took a look, and their opinion was it wasn't needed. So, you know, on all votes that we have that are peculiar to one particular zone, the vote is for, you know, is made by all members of the committee. But we often defer to ground stewards, the applicable ground stewards, because they're the ones who know the area best.
So what you're saying is you and the ground stewards are positive about a tree for Tam.
Yeah, yeah, there, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yes.
The answer-
What's the pleasure of the directors?
Sorry, say again.
What is the pleasure of the directors, please?
Oh, okay.
Does
Oh,
this
your-
work?
yours might be
Is,
out. I was
wait,
having
is
trouble.
this, so are you making an appeal to the board
Yes, I
to
am.
change the decision?
Yes,
Because
I
I was
am.
at the grounds meeting too, and so was Paul Dubois, by the way, and Marcus. So do
And
you want to
Ashley.
address this?
Yeah, I was on Zoom.
So I think the disagreement amongst the grounds committee members were also the size of the tree. And I talked to Paul Dubois a little bit about that. And he also kind of, well, agreed and disagreed with the outcome and the committee members. He suggested not to have such a large tree as recommended by the zone stewards, but possibly a smaller tree, just not such a large one.
The problem is at the end of the day, as you can visualize, it's at the end of the day, the sun sets in July, August, and September in a gap of the larger trees that are west of us. And the sun just comes in and beats down on, as I said, plants. And
So is this common, Steve, you know more probably, to plant possibly like a 35 or 40-foot tree? I think that's what,
In and out.
that's what was there before, a 40-foot.
well, but I don't think they planted the tree that large, that grew that tall. So
Well, I did see
don't-
like, oh, I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
I don't think a little ornamental, for example, a crepe myrtle would do the job in this case. There's just not enough foliage. You really need a shade tree. And the previous tree was
I mean, I
was a big- big-
didn't hear a recommendation from Paul at that meeting. I wish I would have heard you know, from him a recommendation, what type of tree that would make sense in that small area.
Well, we could, okay, if you give us direction to go ahead on this, we can consult Paul as to the species.
I mean, I
another-
personally would not just want to kill this recommendation or this suggestion. I would really like to see or hear from a professional what is recommended from a professional to place there.
So
But-
Marcus, what I'm hearing is that if the board votes in favor of replacing the tree, we'll go with a recommendation from Paul?
I would like to see that, yes.
Okay, is that fair?
Mhm.
Can I just add something? Well, I mean, we can't guarantee that if there's tree roots from there before that it's going to grow the same. But I think even SMUD will look at your site and make a recommendation, you know, with, I want to make sure if we plant something that you're going to be happy with it. I mean, it's going to be, you know, little and it's going to take quite a few years. So,
Oh, understandably, yes.
yeah, again, like Paul, have we ever used SMUD to consult on?
Yes, but I don't think we want a tree from SMUD. 'cause
No,
they-
I know they'll give them out for free, but I've had them look before at my site and they can go, you know, from Google Earth or something and they have a parcel map and they can kind of recommend, they give you 3 different types. I mean, that might be another resource
I'd be
for us.
happy to take that as an action item and ask SMUD to prepare some sort of a statement or report
know.
back to the board, if that would be helpful.
So Tim, I want to make a motion that we get you a new tree. I definitely think we should consult with Paul. I wonder if it's possible because a little tree is going to take a long time. I know in the past, some homeowners have been given the option of planting a slightly larger tree and paying the extra.
Mhm.
And that might be an option for you as well that you would want to consider.
Yes, we would.
Okay, so how about this motion that we move that we get you a tree, that there's an option that you can upsize at your cost with the recommendation from Paul. Does that work?
May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Okay.
I like it.
Any objections from the members?
No.
Without objection, so moved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Who's this?
This is
Uh,
Maureen White from 1411 Commons Drive. I'm on Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I guess I don't see me there. Yeah, I want to thank you. It's my letter of April 24th, 2022. Asking for permission to retain my my plantings along my pathway pursuant to section 3.1.3. I want to thank you for allowing me to address you this evening. I'm sorry I cannot be here there. I would have preferred to be there in person because I think that's best. But my husband has had a very bad day today with his Alzheimer's, and I just didn't want to leave him alone this evening. So I apologize for that. I think you have before you my letter, which is more of an odyssey that my husband and I have gone through these past 2 years since 2020, when COVID was at its height and my front yard was turned upside down to rebuild a walkway to my home from the destruction of by a very large tulip tree in front of my home that the city would not remove. Unfortunately, all of my plantings, all the way up to my front door and along my home, were all destroyed. It's been an arduous path for me and my husband because, as you can see in the letter, which I don't want to have to go through the letter itself. You can read the letter yourself. But it's been a very difficult 2 years for us. So tonight, I'm really here for two reasons. One is to ask you for authorization pursuant to section 3.1.3 of the association rules to have or retain my plantings along the 20-foot pathway leading to my front door. I will take care of the flowers myself, which I have been doing, and I will ask for no outside help. These are plantings, these are flowers, to make it very clear. They're not the shrubs. These are actually little twinkly flowers. They're mainly daisies. I also ask for your compassion and your understanding of why this is important to me and to my neighbors and to my husband. Again, these flowers, if you were to look at my home from the roadway, you cannot see these flowers. If you walk up the path to my home and you turn to your side, yes, you see my flowers. If you walk up to my home, yes, you see my flowers. But you don't see it if you drive by or you walk by on the main sidewalk itself that leads to the front yard. I have included, when I wrote this letter, I did include several testimonials. I don't know, I did not see those testimonials in this packet. So I don't know if you have them or not. Do you have them?
Yes, we were given, does this one work?
Yeah,
Marcus?
it is. You're,
Okay. So we were given those testimonials tonight before the meeting.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
So
very much.
Maureen, let's see, you are asking that your plantings be allowed to stay. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
And
may I have-
it's-
all right. Do you have anything more to say? I want to get some feedback from the directors.
only that I guess it would be, obviously, I resorted to this because it's taken 2 years for anything to happen along there. These plantings did not disrupt anything. They did not disrupt the irrigation. But mainly too, it's because they're very delightful to my husband who has Alzheimer's. He cannot go into the backyard at all anymore. It's unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to think about it, when we bought the home, a pool was included in our backyard and it takes up the entire backyard. He cannot traverse around that pool. He will fall and something very dangerous will happen to him. So the only path he has is really outside. He loves looking at the flowers. They bring him delight. They bring delight to so many of my neighbors. So it's yes, it's two things. It's pursuant to this section, but it's also kind of just an impassioned plea, if you will. I have worked on.
Maureen, excuse me, I think we know what you're asking. I don't want to cut you off, but we need to continue the meeting.
Right.
I think I understand what you're asking for. So if you don't mind, I'd like to get some feedback from the other directors. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
All right, great. Thank you. Other directors' comments?
So are we taking this out of new business and discussing it now?
Well, not necessarily. No. I guess what I would tell you, Maureen, is later in the agenda, we have an item to discuss regarding this very issue community-wide, to see if we can figure out a way to allow homeowners to plant in an area next to their front doors, as you have. We're not done with that yet, but I think you should be aware of that, that the board is attempting to resolve that issue, which would affect you as well.
So what are you saying to me?
What I'm telling you is that we're trying to address this community-wide.
There was a time when I worked on the grounds committee again. It was several years ago, of course, but you know, we did allow plantings, and we did allow people to buy their plants. We did under the supervision of the landscapers, of course. They actually were involved in the plantings themselves. I see them around the neighborhood now because I've lived here 26 years. So I'm an old hat at this.
Sure, Maureen, we're very well aware of that.
Yes.
I think, I don't know what the directors feel about this policy. This policy that we're trying to develop is not ready to go tonight.
I say something. I know this is, I understand what a difficult task this is. I do. I mean, I was a director in the courts and had 400 people under me. I understand rules, and I understand there are health and safety rules, and there's guidelines and rules that can be modified and changed. I get all that. I did all that. So I do understand the task that you have at hand. But, you know, it really means a lot. And I guess I'm speaking really to your latter agenda item. It really means a lot when a homeowner can add a little bit of color or pleasure to their front yards or whatever without really compromising the entire area.
Maureen, I understand. We need to keep going. I'd like to get input from the other directors on this issue. Do I have input from other directors on this?
Yeah, I'm in support of the flowers. I think it's tastefully done. I know if you've lived here a long time and we used to allow it, then we didn't, you know, but I've had, when I go on, that's part of my dog route. And I've had several people come up to me in support of it. And I think, you know, some of our areas of new plantings or just areas that have been there a while are maybe too sparse. And anyway, I think it looks great, and I'm okay with it. So, and hopefully our new process will address it in a way that our maintenance crew, our homeowners can maintain it. And anyway, so those are my thoughts.
Linda?
So, and Ashley just referred to this, the process. We actually asked the grounds committee to work on this proposal and to bring us a recommendation. And it is on our agenda tonight. It's the first item on new business. So I think that we need to at least respect and honor what we've received from grounds before we discuss this.
And Linda, I hear you. She's appealing to a different part of the rules, not the process that we're looking at for the neighborhood as a whole, but that one that we can find in the community rules.
It's in the CCNRs. It's not in the community rules. And what it
5.4.
basically, I'm
No, there
sorry.
is something in the community rules too, I believe.
It's a permission of
Yeah,
the board.
but
So
what I
she's
think
asking-
it speaks to is a need for like a
But
process.
we don't discuss it as a case by case. And so we already have asked grounds to make a recommendation. And I think that at that time, we need to discuss the recommendation they have brought forward.
Well, I mean, but I see them kind of differently. One's neighborhood wide and one is a very specific request from a homeowner. And we also had the ability as a board to provide a variance if we don't feel that the current 3.13 applies. She's asking us for our approval for what she did. And I find it a separate issue.
I find it a separate issue as well.
Actually, I do too. I really do. And
All right, we need to make a decision here.
may I speak? I wouldn't even be here tonight having this discussion with you had it not been for what happened in 2020. And how my home was practically abandoned due to COVID. And I actually had to start the plantings myself. And I did that. And I have been refurbishing that area, my area, for the last couple of years. So this is a separate case. It's a separate issue altogether. And sometimes
Maureen, please, I think we completely understand that. You've made your point very well, in fact. And so what are we going to do, folks?
We need to move on and we need to discuss this as.
All right, here's what I suggest. Maureen, if you can stay with us. We have this issue later in the agenda regarding homeowner planting. So if you can stay with us, we will discuss that at that time before making any decisions.
are you asking for an answer from me?
No, I'm just telling you what we're going to do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I may have to, I have my husband to take care of too, so.
Sure, no, I understand, sure. Yeah,
Stay.
so
You know, he's sick, okay, so.
Maureen, we understand. We have a lot of business to do tonight. You've made your case. Hopefully we can make some resolution later in the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, other speakers for the homeowners forum? Anyone online? Okay, hearing none. Betsy, we have homeowners correspondence.
Right, and we've actually already heard from the first two letter writers, which were Tim Taylor and Maureen White. The last letter is from Mr. Charles Weigel, who lives in the university area on University Avenue. My response to him is also here. He also attended the grounds committee meeting, spoke for some length. I also went to that area, met with Paul Keller and another neighbor. Unfortunately, Charles Weigel couldn't join us to talk about the changes to the levy in the last 2 years. Year,
Right.
really, year and a half.
This is an issue regarding, how can I say this? The area facing the levee behind these homes is looking pretty ratty right now. It is unfortunately not our responsibility. The property is owned by the city of Sacramento. That side of the levee is managed by the American River Flood Control District. And I'm sensitive. I think we're all sensitive to what's happening there. I think one thing we came out of our executive session, we are going to retain a land surveyor to be able for us to define exactly where the property line is and then move on from that. Do I have that right, directors? Okay, so I don't know, is Mr. Weigel on?
No.
No, okay, so we're going to actually stake the property line in front of every home so that we know exactly where the property line is and who's responsible for what.
And hopefully that will allow us to add in some additional landscaping where it was removed. We're also hoping to
You know,
do.
if it's on our property, we
Yeah,
can
if
do
it's
it.
on
yeah.
our property, so we're hoping to do that too.
Yeah, okay. All right, anything else from correspondence?
No.
Okay. All right, we have the consent calendar. Any input or questions from the directors on the consent calendar?
I move we approve the consent calendar.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
An objection from the directors? Without objection, so approved. Okay, unfinished business, receive ARC report regarding paint colors. Those of you who are on are probably aware that the board has been considering a new palette of paint colors when we repaint our homes after siding replacement. We received an excellent document from the ARC, the Architectural Review Committee, which we asked for. And it provides recommendations on a number of things regarding the bricks not be painted and that the units should be painted the same color. Some general things, paint recommendations on the fencing. And then the second item there, Betsy, is the recommendations for how to proceed with this. And I'm not going to read this, but basically this is saying, look, we need to get a lot more input from the community. We've heard comments on both sides of this issue, and I think we have a lot of residents who aren't even aware that this is being discussed. So we're going to be soliciting information from the entire community. And I'm going to make sure I got my notes here before this turn over to Mary. Mary's the protagonist here. Well, yeah. Is that the wrong word?
I think it is.
Okay. Mary is the lead on this. So we've got some work to do on this. I will tell you, this unfortunately has taken longer than we all thought it was going to, and we're running up against the clock. As Betsy pointed out earlier in the meeting, we are hoping to award a contract for siding replacement at our July meeting. We have our construction manager who we hired. He's hot to go. He's on the way to go, and we'll be reviewing the specs here pretty soon, Betsy, because I'm looking for him.
Yeah, he's got them.
The bid documents, and then he will meet with bidders. They will take bids. He'll analyze the bids, and we're hoping to make an award in July. Once that work starts, we got to be able to follow with painting right afterwards. The siding comes out primed. It cannot sit in the environment primed. I'm a little concerned that we're going to not be ready because of the recommendations here to proceed with the painting, because we're still working through these recommendations. So that's my concern.
So, and so I was just gonna. Okay, John asked me to fill in if there were some things that were left out. A couple things. We're gonna paint some sample sidings and leave them outside the clubhouse. So you'll be able to see the new colors in the sunlight and get a really good idea of what they look like. You can also come into the clubhouse where they're currently on display in the main room where we're sitting. The other thing that the that we decided to do is we're going to send a mailed questionnaire to every single homeowner. We want to give every homeowner in Nepenthe a chance to respond to the colors. So we're hoping to say paint colors on the outside. We're really looking forward to your feedback, and we're hoping that you will take the time to come over and look at the colors. When do you think we'll have that available? What do you think?
I think we could probably have it done by this time next week or by Friday next week at the latest.
Okay, so you can come indoors and see samples of the color, but as Betsy said, in about a week, you can actually see them outdoors and get a better idea of what they'll look like. So anyway, we're really looking for your feedback.
I know Linda wants to talk, but I just want to add something really quickly. We updated the boards. For those of you that looked at them before, we previously had, some different trim colors. So we just simplified, we took some of their recommendations and we just went for a mono color. We also removed one of the colors, Grouchy Badger, which was seen to be really dark. I think that these renderings you're going to see, they're kind of Photoshopped renderings. I think that they're going to look darker than they will in real life. And that's why we're painting those boards and putting them outside to give you a better feel of what they're really going to look like. So anyway, I think it's going to increase the values over here, kind of bring it up to date a little bit and out of the 70s, early 80s. So it'll be interesting to get the feedback from everyone.
Linda, you want to speak?
Yeah. My biggest concern is that we are pushing this through too rapidly. We haven't really given a lot of information to all of our residents. I don't think that we've had time to hear from our residents. And when John's talking about the siding is going to be going up this summer and we are going to have to paint it, I don't know at that point that we're going to have all of these things done. ARC spent a lot of time putting a process in place, which I think would be easy to follow. And I know we can get the survey out, but I think we still need time for people to give input to us about changing the colors of our community. It's a big change, and the colors are much deeper and darker than what we have right now. So I guess my recommendation would be to delay this and actually look at this, stay with the colors we have, and look at this when we finish the painting of the original colors, which would probably be in about 3 years, and do a good job at looking at new paint colors and researching it and getting input from all of our residents. So my recommendation would be to slow this down.
So that would, let me see if I understand what you're saying. We would proceed with this year's siding replacement.
Correct.
We have 2 more phases to go, don't we, Betsy?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so we would, your recommendation would be that we stay with the current colors for this
for
year's
this
effort.
cycle. Yeah.
To give us an opportunity to really flesh out the new paint colors. And hopefully if we choose new paint colors, we would use them in the subsequent cycles.
Correct.
Right. Do you want to make a motion in that regard?
Before the motion's made, I thought we were going to send out the questionnaire and see what comes back first. So we know, we get a feeling from our community, from the entire community, what they think. And based on that, decide what the next step will be.
Marcus.
So if we would go along with a survey, so that would, I believe, further delay the process. So we would have to draft a survey first. The directors would have to look at the survey first and approve the survey. Then it has to be mailed out. We also, in my opinion, we would have to have a certain percentage of our 590 homeowners to approve that. What if we only get 20 back? So because of 20 or 30 or 50, the remaining people are going to get new home colors. So I think we would have to, in my opinion, put a certain percentage if we go along with a survey, a percentage in place that would make that we could make a decision to change the colors. So with all this, I really think we are delaying and delaying and delaying. As I understand, the warranty would actually be voided on the siding if we don't.
In about 2 weeks after it's placed.
So I just think this is a risk. And, you know, I haven't really heard from too many people that they're unhappy with their colors that we have right now. So I would really like to just move forward with the siding repairs, replacements, and the colors that we have to paint to make this look nice again.
In response, we were going to get the questionnaire out very quickly. It's very easy to use the existing colors. I don't really see a delay resulting from asking our homeowners' opinions on these colors. There really isn't a delay or a risk. It's a step.
Mary, I think you have looked at this survey and homeowner response, including the other things that the committee is asking us to do, a little too optimistically. I am very worried to do this correctly, it's going to take longer than we have. I really am afraid of that. And this new siding that we have chosen, which has a 50-year guarantee rather than like the 7 we had, comes pre-primed from the factory, but our construction manager has told us that prime in the field, once it's placed, is good for about 2 weeks, or you void the warranty. We do not want to do that.
John, I completely agree. I mean, I absolutely agree. And if push comes to shove, yes, go with the existing colors. But I don't see a risk in asking the homeowners. I mean, absolutely, push comes to shove, we should not risk the new siding and go with the existing
Okay,
colors.
so
I agree.
once again, and we did discuss this in executive board, my concern is that we haven't given information to people. They're going to get a survey and they're not even sure what they are responding to, because I don't think we've done enough outreach to our community. I mean, I have a pretty astute alley, and I would bet you that only one other neighbor knows that we're even discussing paint colors. So, and I don't know about the rest of you that are here, but it hasn't been a real hot topic. And when we had a presentation at a board meeting, we had, I think, very few people, 5 or 6 people show up. And then we did another presentation to architectural, but you know, we need to tell people what we're doing. We need to share some information, and we need to hear what they say.
Ashley?
There's no risk, and we can fast track. We can put a survey out, and if we get a low response rate, we can use our best judgment. But just like anything else, we can put, Betsy does great emails alerting the community of something happening or an event. Not only is it just the letter and the survey, there's also an opportunity for homeowners to write in a letter. In addition, to go to our next board meeting. We have time right now to do this, and to miss the opportunity is really putting us back. I ran for election on this. I mean, this was my big thing. And so I'm very passionate about it. And I have neighbors that are passionate about it. I have people that tell me so. I am sorry this got delayed with Sherwin-Williams dropping the ball multiple times. I blame them for being where we are right now. And, but that's okay. There's no reason why we can't put a survey out there, see what people respond as, and then we can, as board members, decide what to do. And if it doesn't come back in time, we can maybe choose to go with the old colors.
Ashley, let me just tell you that the schedule has got me scared. If we're going to have a painting contractor ready to follow our siding contractor and we award that contract for siding at our July meeting, we need to be able to award a contract for painting almost immediately after that, which means we need to get the bid documents out sometime in the next 3 or 4 weeks. And I don't know that we're going to be ready to make a decision on this that quickly. And that
Well-
is my biggest concern. We cannot waste the time and wait too long. We cannot wait and not be able to paint the siding.
You would have to give the people adequate time too to either come. Well, first of all, it has to be painted. The samples have to be painted of the siding. Then they would have to come and look at it first. Then they have to come in here and look at it. So, I mean, just the time that you have to give them to really make a decision. Plus also, I'm looking at these colors. They all look beautiful, but I don't know which color my house would get painted. So I still wouldn't just, point blank say, oh yeah, I like to have new colors, but not knowing what my row of house is going to be painted. So I really would like to have much more detailed, a detailed plan that, a clear plan. And I just don't see that.
That's overanalyzing it, I think.
No, I don't think so. This is
me.
expensive and
Yeah.
important.
Will Vizar, do you have a comment on this, sir?
Yes. I concur with what John says. The board is elected to make decisions. I have no dog in this fight. Change the colors, keep the colors you got, but make a decision and go forward. You asked for input last month. You got one letter, one. You're not going to get a majority of people commenting. And then the last time we went through this and we identified whose house was going to be what color, then it did turn into a fight. Well, I want that color, but I don't want this color. So I think the board's just got to decide. If you go with the existing colors, fine. If you decide to go with the new colors, fine. Just decide.
Well, I'm strategizing here. We're going to have a drop dead date.
And that's totally
Well,
reasonable, John.
let me finish. I would say that we need to be confident that we have heard from as many people as we can. We have been able to place the siding examples out on the pool deck and comply with the other recommendations by the ARC by the 1st of June.
I'm good with that.
How do the other directors feel about that?
Um,
And if we're unsuccessful, we proceed with the existing colors.
I'm fine with that. Is that a
Heard
motion?
back from what? I mean, with the survey?
The survey.
The
So that
survey,
means we need to get our
well,
survey.
the survey, and also part of this recommendation is to paint some siding
And how-
pieces and set them out on the deck. So, I mean, you can look at these renderings all you want, and you can look at the swatches over there, but as Ashley pointed out, they're gonna look different when they're painted on siding and sitting outside. And
And-
that's a big, big part of it.
And Betsy just said we can have them in a week, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
So I will move this.
How many people do you want to reply to move forward with changing the color? I mean, we have to have a
Well-
percentage of.
Well,
color.
Will
20?
Vizar just said, you're probably, I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, and I think we're just gonna have to go on faith that we get a lot of responses.
I will stuff envelopes or whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we proceed with the recommendations of the ARC and that we have a decision for the board to make regarding new colors use or stay with the existing colors for the first phase of siding replacement. And we be able to make that decision by June 1st. That's correct. All right, let's make it May 25th. Yes, okay. I'm sorry, for those of you who don't know, I'm getting a new knee June 1st. You've seen me limping around the community here. It's killing my tennis game. So, and it turns out that the surgery is on the 1st of June, which is one reason I'm wearing the mask, because I'm trying to be cautious here. So, all right.
I can paint the siding too. I mean, I'll come back on my own time and
All right, all
Well,
right.
you might want to just second the motion.
Okay.
John moved to proceed with the recommendations of the ARC and move forward with getting homeowner feedback to make a final board decision on changing the colors on May 25th.
May I have a second?
I second.
Any objections from the other directors? Not objections, is approved.
Thanks, John.
So we will have to make a decision at the same time, Betsy, would you let Paul Reeves know, who is our construction manager? He's been asking and asking and asking about this. Let him know we're trying to get off the dime here. And so that we can then proceed with the paint, whatever our decision is, because he's the one that scared me.
And Betsy, it was my understanding, talking to Kelly Moore, that we have all the specs and everything for the paint. We have everything we need to go out for bid to the painters. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so I don't anticipate that being a problem.
okay.
Yeah.
Just
So
wanted to verify.
is it possible too, since we're getting this information to homeowners, is it possible to get a color consultant who would set up our entire community so we could see what the colors of the units would be?
Well, I think we'll probably just, if you've got if you have army green, maybe you're going to be the tranquil taupe. I don't know.
No, but I
Well,
mean, but
to
so
answer
that
your
we could
que-
see them next to one another.
I did talk to a color consultant and who can do that.
Okay.
I don't know if she can do it prior to May 25th, but she can do that.
Well, I think that would be important because
I don't-
Marcus was talking about, everybody would be interested to know, okay, what's the color of my house going to be?
Right, right.
Or my house and the unit next to me.
What I can do, I've talked to her. I will see if she
Yeah, I
has
mean,
the time.
I just don't understand. I mean, I'm looking at these colors and yeah, they look fine to me there, but I don't know which color that my house would be. I would really, before I would want to make a decision on that ballot, I would want to know what the community is actually going to look like as a whole, plus my house.
Yeah, and I hear your concern. I
Okay,
totally
Mary,
hear you.
can you talk to this?
I will talk to her and see if she can get it done.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, have we beat this one to death?
Yep, I think it's important, so.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. It's been quite a worthwhile discussion, actually, yeah. All right, moving right along. Item 8B, proposal for tree remediation in Zone 3. We had tree remediations earlier. This one was not ready for us. Is that correct? Betsy, could you discuss this?
Yeah, that is correct. Last month, the board conditionally approved the proposals for remediations of tree removal sites in zones 3 and 4. One particular site was not in the packet as one of the zone stewards just wasn't available to make the recommendation at the last grounds meeting. But at the April 19th grounds committee meeting, she did move for approval. And let me take you to that proposal, the photos and the letter from the homeowner that lives there. That's the location. That's where the oak tree failed.
I
This
remember
is
that.
the oak tree. It was
It
that big,
fell on a
beautiful-
truck.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes, a big, beautiful oak tree, probably, as old as the community. And this homeowner did write to the grounds committee. I forwarded this to the ground steward for the North Zone, Jolene Hecht, and she moved at the April 19th meeting. I believe that was the date, the April grounds committee meeting, that this proposal be recommended to the board for approval. And
Right,
what the proposal calls for is ivy to fill in where there already is ivy, some Camellia japonica, some Laura petalum, clean up the area between the two homes there and put in the manzanitas like we have in other places. Some Berry Creek rock along the siding to help keep it clean. So there's some grass there that would also be reseeded. topsoil, the humus to humus, hummus. I'm hungry. Okay. And then some bark as well. But the big item is this 24-inch box evergreen elm to replace that oak tree. It wouldn't be in exactly the same position, so it wouldn't be competing with the roots, but it would be a little more forward, I believe.
Can you
And then-
show the picture again,
Yeah.
please? Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's ivy there.
Yes, there's ivy here, grass here, and then these little guys back here, which are being pruned into conga drums. Those would go away and be replaced with 2 manzanitas in the middle, and then the Berry Creek rock would be along the siding there on either side. And then there's a low brick wall here. I think Oscar is planning to put some of the camellias over in that area so that those people.
Can you go back to the proposal? Thank you.
Yeah.
I just am concerned. I don't like the manzanita they've been placing here. It's not that I have something really against the manzanita. I just don't think that they fit our landscape here. I don't think it's in keeping with I just don't think it looks right. And I would really like to have Garth maybe, or Carson suggest a different shrub there.
You want to
That's-
move approval with a switch of 2 manzanitas for something?
I'm fine
else?
with that. I don't think, I think the rest of it's in keeping with what we have. The Laura petalum, what does that look like again?
One that's a purple shrub and it has the.
Oh,
pink
I like
leaves
that.
on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay.
So Ashley, would you like to move?
I move we approve it with several suggestions, alternatives for the manzanita.
Okay.
Okay. We have a second. All right.
Thanks.
Other directors?
Yeah.
Without objection, so approved. Hold on, I'm taking notes here.
Sorry. Okay. All right.
Okay, but no manzanita. This is so I can check Betsy's notes. No offense, Betsy, but it's a habit I have. All right. Item C, review design guidance from landscape architect Garth Ruffner. Betsy, can you introduce this? And Mary, you and Ashley may want to kind of update everybody on
Yeah.
this issue.
Right. Well, we hired Garth. When I say we, I mean the board hired him for 24 hours worth of his time, which included, looking at the plant palette, making recommendations there. But he also came out and met with the directors, went on a walk and looked at a lot of the areas that have been renovated. And some documents were prepared based on the notes. So the design guidelines were created from Mary's notes, Ashley's notes, my notes. And then, we kind of did a little bit of a round robin and had some edits here. And then this was sent to Garth for his input. And so this is the one that went to Garth, and he came back with these edits. Basically his edits are pretty minimal. Where we have plant choices, he says generally use low water plants. I think he knows if you're replacing like for like, it's probably better to stick with it. Just a few notes. I think the directors, you've all had this. So I don't know if you want me to read it. or-
Mary, can you, without going line by line, can you give us like a 60,000 foot look at what this is all about?
Yeah, I really appreciated the opportunity to spend 3 hours with Garth walking our community. And what he was highlighting and what we were interested in were a couple of things. We're going to have less water, and we're going to need to focus on any changes to our landscaping essentially be low water. But he also gave us all kinds of tips about what we're doing right and wrong throughout the community, which like in trimming, in planting, in the use of mulch, all kinds of things. And it's pretty much captured really well because 3 of us took notes, we all shared them, and then Garth edited them. So I think these minutes capture that walk around and some future guidance. So I totally concur with the result here. And I'm really hoping we can share these with the community.
I just wanted to add, I think they're really good. And I think I would really like those hours that we have with Garth to review, like you can see in here, that he's going to be reviewing the Zone 7 project, but using the map that Carson did about our irrigation issues when we have the shrubs and the lawns on the same valve and wasting all this water, that, for future projects that we, kind of focus in on those. And I'm hoping that, with Garth's guidance on these little fill-in projects and these little and Zone 7, and that maybe we can come up with a new one where he really, provides us even more guidance that we can really, save money. Maybe he had a lot of suggestions about keeping some of the plants that we have instead of getting rid of them and just trimming them in a way that they become trees. So I really hope, I know that the landscape committee keeps on asking for more direction, and I really want that to be our direction. I know things are kind of shifting over to a new board, but instead of, just focusing on the shrubs, and I want to scrap what we've got. I know that zone stewards took 2 areas per zone, and I think we need to completely rethink and prioritize according to the irrigation issues we have. And I'm just hopeful that I can get the support of the landscaping committee and as well as the other board members, and that we start being a little bit more mindful about our, doing these remediation projects in the future. So that's all I have to say.
Are you Canadian? You said project.
I do. I could speak like that. My daughter
Are you
lived there.
Canadian?
No, I'm not.
All right, thank you.
I
Ashley.
speak like how it's
Other
spelled.
comments from the other directors? Bitsy, you're asking the board to accept and approve these guideline documents?
My proposed resolution, my recommended resolution is that you approve them as they are presented and then forward it to the grounds committee and to Carson Landscape for comment. If they should come back with some specific feedback that you would want to add to the document later, then of course you could do that. But at least at this point, this would be what you were adopting.
Yeah, this is an excellent document. A lot of work went into this. Mary National in particular, you guys really
You.
knocked it out of the park here. So I think we should be thankful. Can I have a motion to accept this? Don't be
So
shy.
are we going to wait to provide it to the community until after the comments, or are we going to provide it now to the community?
It's not a rule change, so it wouldn't be a community comment period unless you wanted to.
No, I wasn't
Oh.
thinking comment period, but I just think it provides a look at the future for our community. And I
Oh.
was interested in sharing that with our community.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to do it like in this newsletter, or would you want to wait until after the grounds committee has had a chance to comment? That's up to you.
Well, maybe we can, because he's going to be speaking at the next grounds committee meeting, and
Yeah.
I would also encourage maybe put it in the newsletter. I would like it to be in here, especially the landscaping committee. I try to listen in on Zoom and there's not this beautiful
don't-
equipment there.
Right.
But I think it would be great to invite other people to attend just to hear what he has to say. And I mean, I learned a lot personally. I had some ideas, which in talking to him were bad. So
Well, I think
So-
maybe distributing this would help increase the interest, and I think everybody should be interested in hearing Garth.
Do we want to hold off accepting this until that happens?
We can
Um,
accept, I
I
mean,
think we
this,
can
I
accept.
think we can accept it, recognizing there might be more feedback.
Right.
All right.
So
I would
who
like
is-
to move, we accept this, subject to providing perhaps additional comments when we've circulated this. Okay, Steve?
Thank you for looking at this. My intention then will get, I send a weekly report out to my committee every Friday, and I'll just send this and say it's been accepted by the board, and it'll form the basis of a discussion at our May meeting at which Garth Ruffner will be present.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. All right, we have a motion.
In a second.
A second, any objections to the directors?
No.
Without objection, approved. Okay, next item, lollipop light bulb change. We have the work of the insurance committee, and in particular, Peter Pelkover. We've done some kind of dry run on changing the light bulbs and our lollipop lights for additional security lighting. The board approved the purchase of the light bulbs last time. Do we have them yet? So now we got to figure out how to put them in. Peter Pelkover, are you here?
I'm there, Josh. Can you hear me?
Yes. Peter,
Good.
can you give us some ideas on how we're going to pull this off?
Yeah, John, in my mind, and in my research, there are two possibilities. One has been suggested that we form some kind of groups of homeowners and have the homeowners do it on a voluntary basis. The other is that we simply hire someone, a vendor, to replace them. I've kind of looked at both, and I'll give you my recommendation first, which is that we hire somebody. And I looked at what the costs have been previously for similar work with the lollipop lights. And according to some information that Betsy provided me, it would cost us approximately $4,500 to have them done by a vendor. I would suggest if we do that, that you let Betsy touch base with a few of these folks who have worked on it in the past and see if she can get some idea. The alternative, which I'm not recommending, is that we have homeowners do this on a voluntary basis. I don't recommend it for a couple of reasons. First of all, as I understand it, we've had about 14 volunteers so far, and I'm sure that number could be increased by some promotion, but there are 687 lights. If you assumed it would take you about 10 minutes to clean them and change the bulb, you're talking about 114 hours of work. I'm not sure that we could keep homeowners interested that long. It would clearly be spread over a lengthy period of time, probably numerous Saturdays. I would also be concerned, and I'm willing to do this if it came to that they'd have to be instructed, though it's not difficult. We're not just talking about changing the light bulbs, we're talking about removing the actual fixture. And while that's pretty simple, some of them do stick. I've probably changed about 25 of them in my research, and some of them are difficult to get out. I would also be concerned that the volunteers might injure themselves in doing this process. It is possible to cut your hand on the edges. It's possible even for someone to fall. I certainly wouldn't recommend ladders, but if you're going to be changing them in the area along the levee, it's pretty difficult back there. I had to trump.
So
brush.
Peter, your recommendation would be that we ask First Service to solicit bids from, I assume these would be electrical contractors, to do the work under contract.
We just had
No,
handyman do it last
John,
time.
Their contractors that were used previously was a janitorial supply or a
Okay, all right.
janitorial
Yeah,
company.
sure, okay.
One of them, the other one was an electrical contractor, but he was actually changing the tops of the fixtures.
Sure.
So there's some electrical work involved, but I would say somebody who normally does janitorial work, exterior type, would be suitable. And I think, Betsy could clearly contact the one
Maybe Bailey
outfit that
Boys?
worked for us in 2020 and possibly a few others, and just get an idea for the board of what the costs would be. And if you want to write up specs, I'd certainly be able to help doing that. Whatever you think.
Great, okay.
Yeah, we have custom care services that did the last cleaning of the light globes. We also work quite a bit with Elite Services. That's our handyman service. So we could have a separate contract just for this and they could deploy the necessary manpower. And I'm sure I could probably find a couple more if you wanted more bids.
All right, why don't we do this? This is item for discussion. Can we direct you, Betsy, to seek cost proposals from at least 2 or 3 people if you can? And we'll consider that at the next meeting and get this done. That sound good, Peter?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Again,
excellent.
I'm willing to participate to the extent that whatever I've learned would be helpful.
Well, actually, I was thinking that we would hire somebody to do 300 of them and you do the other 300.
Well, if you, John, I'm talking to you from home because I injured my hip and I'm somewhat,
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
well, it's nothing too serious, I hope, but at my age, everything you worry about. But
Sure.
I'm not sure that I would be able to really do that. I realize you're pulling on the
Of
other
course,
leg.
I was just
Yeah.
teasing you a little bit. So Peter, thank you so much for everything you've done on this. I have one of these new light bulbs in front of my front door and it makes a difference. It's not glaring, but there's certainly a lot more light.
Well,
So thank you.
one of the considerations had to be the city's dark sky
Sure.
policy.
Yeah.
And so my recommendation on the lights themselves took that into consideration. I'm sure some people will say, gee, they're not bright enough. Well, they're about as bright as we can do without running afoul of any of the rules and laws and so on.
Peter,
Yeah.
just cleaning them more often will probably help too. Just changing the light bulbs doesn't do it, but maybe a little bit more of cleaning every couple of months.
Maybe we could get the volunteers for that, like our clean.
Yeah, I was
cleaning
hoping for
brigade.
some sort of ice cream party or so, but I am listening to the attorney's recommendation here, so I'll follow along whatever you say, Peter. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Marcus. We could ask homeowners to go out with a wet rag and because most of the dirt's on the exterior and wipe out the bulbs. They're not all dirty by any means. But I don't think that's what we should be doing with this. And I think they should be installed, getting it done.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
We're going to move ahead on this and thank you
Yep.
once again for all your effort. Okay.
We don't need a motion, do we, Betsy? We're
No,
just-
No,
Okay.
right, okay. So under new business, which is item Roman numeral 9, proposed policy to permit homeowners to plant in the common area. Let me just go off the top here and then I'd like the other directors to comment. And also Steve, I would ask you to comment. We've been approached recently and honestly, this has been an ongoing situation. We heard from Maureen White about this earlier about the possibility of allowing homeowners to plant plantings in the common area near their homes. We, at the last meeting, asked the grounds committee to give us some guidance and even come up with a draft policy process. Actually, it would be a policy plus a process and how it is approved. Before I call on you, Steve, I will tell you that I am really torn on this one. Personally, I like the idea of being able to plant flowers in front of my door. On the other hand, I hear some comments from other folks who are worried about damage to the common area that the association would have to fix, like the irrigation, that this would be difficult to police if people violate the policy. So, I'm torn on this, and I'm inclined to think that we send this back to the grounds committee to clarify some of these concerns, which I would like to hear from the other directors tonight. So Steve, please. You have the floor.
All right, so we had a good discussion. And our folks did not at all favor people going out and hiring their own contractor, which has been done. So people have looked around the area close to their houses and they've gone out and gotten their own contractor without any asking permission from anybody. How can you ask our own contractor to maintain the area if they didn't plant in the first place and had no hand in selecting the plants? Likewise, we felt very strongly that in the end, the association owns the plants. The owner does not, even if they pay for them. We were made aware that in terms of perennial plants, shrubs, ground cover, et cetera, there is an existing policy or procedure, which is in your materials, which allows people to come to the manager with special requests, unusual requests. Let's see if we can look at that. There we go. So if you go to the very bottom of that page, there is this Roman numeral 4 labeled request for more intensive interventions such as new landscaping and the installation of bark cobble. And then in section B, it details what the procedure would be. You directors would be involved, including whoever is our board liaison, and maybe our committee would be involved. So that is an existing policy, and we feel that that is sufficient. So we concentrated on annuals because some people have said, I would like to plant some annual flowers. So after some discussion, if you look, let's see where we can get that, that wording, Betsy. It's at the bottom of page 5, among other places, maybe for sure. Yeah, to draft a policy that would permit owners to plant annual flowers only in the common area near their entrances up to 10 square feet with no removal of existing plants or irrigation. They'd maintain them and they'd remove them if once they're faded. They would not be allowed to add such materials as stones, and they would apply to the general manager who would consult with his own steward prior to accepting or denying the application. Flowers should become unsightly in the general manager's opinion, the manager could have them removed. So it's confined to annual flowers.
Was that voted on by your committee? I don't see a vote.
I checked, it's not.
Yeah, it was voted on. We can go to that.
Oh, you mean, did we have a formal vote on this?
That's what I'm
Is
asking.
that the question?
Because usually you have that in somewhere.
The answer is no, we didn't. It was more in the way of an informal discussion. Probably the chairman, who you're looking at, probably should have called for a motion.
I have some feedback on the policy, a few things. I even went back and listened to our last meeting that we had, and I think we all were thinking that maybe Garth's updated plant list would be the guidance for homeowners to say which plants they wanted. I don't think that we should be, although I think we should let people plant annuals as you suggest, but I think the way that this is written kind of puts it back on the association, picking up the cost of Carson coming out and fixing up your front landscaping. When I saw this as more of I'm unhappy with my sick azaleas. There's a lot of issues throughout this community that are more of a priority than me not liking my stupid azaleas. And that I could choose from this plant list. I could look at my front yard and I could say, okay, I've got shade, and here's a list from Garth's list of drought tolerant plants. I could choose some and suggest, and then the landscaping committee would review that to see if it was appropriate. And I think that there's already been some draft. I thought that they were given to you, but I don't know if they really have. But I foresaw this as a completely different, I didn't envision this to ever be just for annuals. And I don't want the HOA picking up the costs, although I understand the concerns. And I think that if I want to replace my annuals and I get hydrangeas or whatever it is, I think that someone needs to sign something saying that the HOA reserves a right if for some reason it's not growing well, or if we end up doing an irrigation overhaul, that they have to understand that we have the right to rip them out if we have to. That they become the HOAs, that the HOA begins to own them.
And I thought, were you given a form to work from initially? John, did you provide a form to Steve? I thought we were starting from
Yes.
it. Did you use that when you were developing the policy? Because I looked at it. It had a great process, where the ground stewards were involved. There was a plant list, there was permission, there was ownership
that-
and responsibility. Did you use that?
Was that the previous policy?
No.
Yeah, we got that, but
Did you give it to your committee?
no.
Why not?
What,
asked
all
for
right,
you
now
to
here's
give it.
why. We felt that rather than coming to you with a completely written policy document, it would be best to look at all the variables and do an outline of it, the bare bones. You could comment on that, and then we could come back with a specific document.
Well, I would really appreciate if you would use, because I liked it. I read it. And I thought
I
it was,
liked it too.
I thought it was a really good process because.
did it
wait,
come
wait, I haven't
from?
finished. I haven't finished, and that isn't really the point.
Yeah,
The
it is.
pa-
It is
would you please-
important.
would
It
you
is.
stop arguing with me
All
and
right.
let me finish?
Let's be civil here, okay?
Yes, please.
Please.
So
I don't.
I think I'm still talking. Thank you.
Mary has the floor.
It was a process that had lots of reviews. It was a process that had lots of requirements that I think are important. It was a process where the homeowner paid for the plants, which I think is important. And there was accountability in it, which I think is important. And I don't see those things here.
Well-
And I really want the ground stewards engaged because they're the grounds committee.
We went by we didn't get much in writing from you in the way of direction, and all we could go by was the draft minutes, which you composed, Betsy. Can we find that?
But you were there with Garth Brooks. You heard everything.
Garth
Ruffner.
Brooks.
Sorry, Garth
Is
Brooks.
Garth Brooks here?
We're thinking outside the box here. No, I'm talking about the supplemental form very specifically that John gave you.
And if you didn't share it with your committee members, could you explain to us why you didn't share it? I mean, I guess you did. You just said you wanted
He
to,
did.
Maybe I'm good.
but I think that, wasted some time with your committee. I mean, it looks like we've got a
All right,
heckler here.
Marcus would like to speak.
So I did see that document, and I looked through it. And again, I'm not a professional landscaper and whatnot, and it had some good ideas on it. However, we have no idea where that came from and who wrote it. And I do not believe we can just go off a document that was given to a committee by someone. Otherwise, anybody of the 590 homeowners could hand the document to one of our committees and say, you need to work off that document. So I think it would have to be, I would say, approved by the board that we give a task to the grounds committee that they need to work off that whatever.
Actually, Marcus, in the letter, in an email that I sent to Steve, asking his committee to address this issue, to see if they could come up with a policy to allow this, I attached the document that you're talking about, suggested to him that was a good start. Here it is, make use of it. If you recall, that was the message I sent you.
I'm sorry, what? All right, well, okay. Maybe I didn't get my signals straight. I went by the minutes and I guess I didn't perceive there was the desire of the board to use that document, whoever wrote it, as the starting point. I didn't understand it.
Well, that was my intent.
All right. Well, if
Linda?
I misunderstood, then I apologize.
You know, I was at the meeting and there was a good discussion. I don't think it's fair of us to criticize a document that was anonymous that we gave to a committee and said, work from this document. I can't imagine that the board would present anything unless it was from the board.
Well, why does it matter if Mary and I thought it was good and we were comfortable putting it forward to John and then John forwarded it, why does it matter?
No. You're putting words in my mouth. I said it looks for something that someone prepared.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
I did not say I approved of it necessarily.
I
So
just,
Don't
I don't think anybody said
don't
that.
misconstrue me. Let me suggest this. I'd like to ask for comments from the attendees, and then I'm going to make a proposal.
I just want to add something. I mean, I was on the Zoom call, I couldn't hear anything, but I sensed that there was a lot of, it wasn't a very, it was kind of a negative meeting from what I could understand, whether I couldn't hear the details of it. I think you guys should meet in this room for social distancing reasons. I think that it's an access issue for people to attend on Zoom. And I think and then it gives us the ability to record it, to see some of that. I mean, I know that Betsy recorded it, but I can't really go back and hear it. I can't always attend the meetings, but if it's recorded, I can attend. But I want to start attending more, and sometimes I'm not in town. But I wasn't happy with just the overall feel of the meeting.
Well spoken, Ashley.
Thanks.
Jim Shaw, you had to make a comment. Please come use the microphone, please. And make sure you introduce yourself. Thank you.
I'm Jim Shaw. My wife and Dale and I live at 608 Elmhurst Circle. And I guess we started kicking the can on this latest round of discussion. And thank you for what appears to be a very robust conversation. I was able to attend Steve's committee meeting, and there was a lot of passion. There was a lot of conversation. Unfortunately, I could not stay for all of it, but I think the idea of providing a couple of nuggets and then shoving it over the line is appropriate for the way Steve might then take it and produce a robust document that would come back for edit. I think that's an interesting and legitimate process. I think it's content that's important, not necessarily whose name is at the bottom, because that will be at the end of the evaluative and drafting process. I will offer a couple of just brief comments. I realize I'm restricted. I would like to ask that our landscape architect be actively involved in input on whatever list or lists that come out, whether they be seasonals, annuals, or whatever. Rather than, I've always had a hankering for this, or I couldn't stand that. The idea of being able to have a homeowner choose, yes, you can have anything you want as long as it's on the list. It's not like the old Henry Ford thing. You can have any color on your Model T as long as it's black. Okay, so that, I think that's appropriate. I'd also ask the 10 square foot metric seems to be, at least first blush, rather arbitrary. And I would ask, has the landscape architect input in terms of what scale is appropriate for the front of our residences? And I say that because in the front of our home at 608, we have HOA shrubs that go out at least 6 to 8 feet. And they're very narrow right up our walkway. Not saying that when they're trimmed, they don't look good. But the point is, how do we manage that? We face south, so we have a southern exposure issue as well. If those that are facing into a shadier area or a northern or other exposure area that may be shrouded by trees, there are just a lot of variables that might go into how a landscape architect might make recommendations. If you fall in this general category in terms of exposure or orientation, consider these. If you're in full sun, consider these. So that there might be some guidance that would help us. Yeah. And then finally, and thank you for bearing with me, the application process. I would ask that everything be done in writing, formally going in, evaluation, decision coming out. We were kind of blindsided because we did the best job we could according to our understanding of the regs. And we just came home one day and the plants that Daley put out there, after really trying to work through the process, were just gone. And of course, that's in the CC&Rs. It's totally within the HOA's province to do that. Would have been nice if they'd said, hey, Jim, Dale, we've got an issue here. We're going to let you know you've got 2 weeks to resolve this on your own or whatever. We never got that. So I would please ask that there be writing. And then finally, in terms of the actual process, the template that we have gone through when we put in our new windows was a really cool process that involved application, evaluation, and sign-offs at different levels. It worked well as a template for us. And the idea of not having that same kind of concept in terms of an issue that is so important to maybe a minority of folks rather than a majority of folks, but at least there's some standard procedure that we all can hang our hat on, handrail, something that we all can, whether you're doing it or not. If I didn't choose to plant, at least I know that my neighbor who did had to go through a process that was fair to all concerned. And then finally, the landscape of the architectural committee seems to be the focus or hub for their appropriate improvements. It would seem to me to be reasonable if we had the right kind of application and evaluative procedure and recommendation process to the board, that it would be logical for the landscaping committee to be that hub. Yeah. And the reason I say that is that in the tentative draft, it goes to the general manager, who's a two-person staff. They're full-time all the time. And all of a sudden you've got 50, 60, or maybe even more applications coming through that have to go through a number of different layers. I'm not so sure that is fair to Betsy, and I'm not saying anything other than we have a template that works using our existing committee structure. Why not just take it over here, do the same thing, and then see how it works. But start there with something that we know has worked in the past, and as a personal experience, it worked very well for us in our windows. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did he forget something?
Well, we didn't know that we were going to be doing it. I just want to say that the little flowers that we're talking about were 4 little flowers around a tree in the front of our house. We were not planning any walkways. We were not planning anything else. So, I mean, this just started as we wanted flowers because we don't have any on our property. And so I think the board needs to just take into consideration, everybody's got a story, but it was 4 little flowers around a tree, which may be more than 10 feet away from our front door. So we may not be able to even put anything under a tree. So that's all.
All right,
Thank you. Sorry,
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Other comments? Lisa, please introduce yourself, please.
Hi, yes, my name is Lisa Tafoy, and I'm with the Grounds Committee. And at the board meeting of April 6th, I did ask the board to give the committee something in writing so that we wouldn't have these miscommunications. And I think, John, you said that you would, and I know Marcus said
did.
that. And Marcus said that we had, because you looked at him and he said, you have my word, you would get something in writing. Well, come to find out that you did, John, as you had promised, had given a document to the Grounds Committee for us to review and to digest, but we never did get that document. So I think I agree with you sending it back to the committee that we have now some direction that the board wants us to follow.
Thank you. Good point. Anyone else care to speak on this? Nina White, please. You have your hand up. May I hear from you? And she turned on her camera. Nice going, Nina.
Can't hear you.
You're muted.
You're testing your mute button, I can tell. And
Still
you're
can't
still
hear you.
muted.
Is it your headphones? Now talk. No,
You got to go on your computer and tell them to use the speakers
the
on your
internal.
computer, not your earbuds.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, I had to put it on speaker, so, because I don't know, my earbuds went out all of a sudden. I'm on the Grounds Committee. Steve last time prepared a really good list of questions. And that was a good starting point for us. But if there had been a form that we could have kind of looked at as a model, maybe to, I don't know, tear apart, add to, change, whatever, that might have been more helpful. It was a fairly active meeting, a lot of people talking over each other, but it was a good, robust discussion, and I think it deserves a little better discussion.
Thank you. Anyone else care to comment before? All right, Marcus, did you want to say something?
Well, the Grounds Committee always has a pretty sizable agenda. And, I think this topic cannot be completely resolved in one meeting. And maybe, again, I don't want to overstep my boundaries or want to, make any suggestions here, but maybe Steve, shrink the agenda down with other topics and maybe focus on that one more, or have a special meeting about that. I think, it just takes a lot more time than just like a half an hour or so. That's
What
what.
about a subcommittee, maybe, or like a little group of volunteers that want to, I know that there's a lot of other priorities, tree removals, all sorts of things, but
I think this is something that the Grounds Committee can address in total, but I agree with Marcus. This needs to almost be a special meeting related to that.
Okay, my name is Diane Duraway. I am a zone steward on the grounds committee. And if you read the first line, it says, grant our committee permission to draft a policy that would permit owners to plant annual flowers only in the common area. That's what we were requesting permission to draft a policy. We didn't come here with we want to do it now and we want to plant it here. This is to get permission for us to go forward with this.
Well, I don't agree with drafting a policy about only annuals. So
Well,
Let's there is another proposal. There is a form that stewards have. If a homeowner is requesting new plants in front of their house, we see them on our ground walks and they are given we have a piece of paper, it's written out, it's given to Betsy, and it's on all the stuff that's on there, and it's a proposal. So we have that, but it's not for annuals. It's not for someone who says, I want to plant a violet, or I want to plant petunias.
You're talking about making a service request. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I still don't want us to be in the business of just changing people's their front yards because they don't like it.
And I think we were asking for a process beyond annuals. We were asking for a process where homeowners could, similar to what they spoke to. I thought that was actually a really good idea, I
All
mean,
right,
to build on that.
let's do this. I think, first of all, this needs to go back to the committee. I think you probably anticipated that, Steve. I think it would be wise to at least take the anonymous policy, and I believe there was a procedure in there as well. How do you apply for this? How do you get it approved? Who approves it? What's the process to do that? I think that's important to do. I have a couple of concerns that I would like addressed. I've heard several comments about homeowners digging in their front yard and breaking the irrigation line. How do we assure ourselves that that's not going to happen? That may have to be something in the policy. In fact, I'm wondering, you would consider perhaps doing a damage deposit. So when somebody starts their work, they put in $100 or something, make sure they don't break something. I'm also sensitive to what kind of plants might be allowed, and I believe using the expertise of Mr. Ruffner would be helpful. And my biggest concern is, how do we police this? How do we, whether it's 10 square feet or 1,000 square feet, but let me go back and say it's 10 square feet or 20 square feet. What happens when people violate that? I think we can be relatively assured that that will happen. How do we police that so that we stay within the policy? And how do we do that? And I would like you guys to think about that.
At the same time here tonight, I think we should grant Maureen forgiveness and grandfather some of these things in. I thought we did that before, but it wasn't clear to me with Maureen's case. We were going to kind of kick it over here, but it didn't seem like we decided anything with Maureen.
Continue in her non-compliance state until there's been.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. Maureen, are you still on?
Yep, she's right there. I can see her. White.
Oh, what is that?
Yeah, whatever, the ceiling, or I don't know.
Yeah, she said she had to take care of her
Yeah,
husband.
so she might be gone.
Yeah,
Good point.
okay. All right, so I think that's a good idea. She will just continue non-compliant until we figure this out.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to her.
Yeah.
Too.
We're not going to be, we had
And I'm not completely opposed to annuals. I just don't know. When you look at our landscape from, afar, we don't really have any annuals. So it just seems, I don't know. I don't want to say it doesn't fit in, maybe some impatience in front a little bit, but I mean, if someone goes wild with annuals, that's not going to be kind of in keeping with the rest of our community. Although I know that a lot of places were overwatering and the water would probably be fine and it'd probably grow, but
okay, all right.
So I don't know.
It's 8 o'clock.
yeah.
we need to keep going.
You're right, thanks.
We're not done yet?
No, we are not done yet.
Just kidding.
Okay, Betsy, am I right here? We're going to the arborist reports and tree work proposals.
Correct. And these are pursuant to the reports that were provided by Paul Dubois. And the grounds committee, per their minutes, did approve these proposals as recommended. Carson is also preparing remediation proposals that will be reviewed by the committee at their meeting on the 19th. And they hope to have those ready for you at your May 25th meeting.
I'll just point out to the audience that this is zones 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. Each zone has between 13 and 22 items of work. The total cost for all of it is estimated to be, and this would be not to exceed $76,000, $76,200.
Well, I thought it was 35 when I had.
You thought what?
Well, I added differently than you. Maybe I didn't add them all. Was that accurate? Maybe I just added. them.
Yeah, make a motion.
Okay, all right. And that's within the budget that we have available
Yes,
in the
yes,
reserves?
yeah,
Within the normal allocation for these annual tree reports. Yeah.
Just with all these remediation sites being done, I think we will see a tremendous improvement of our grounds. All these ugly bare sites will slowly go away. So I think we will see a good improvement.
These are
But
pruning.
these
This
are,
isn't-
yeah,
No, but
No,
some
this-
of the remediation.
Oh,
still-
I don't see where we're
No,
doing
these are-
that.
This particular
It-
one.
They're all prunings.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there's very few removals on these. So there, I believe it's 2 removals here in zone
Which
1.
means they're going to have to be remediation later.
Right. And that's what Oscar's
All right, May
working on.
I have a motion to move this on?
I move that we accept is this the tree? work
Yeah,
proposal?
it's on page 6 of here's the
Have a second?
recommended resolution.
Any objections from directors?
No.
No objection, so approved. All right, Betsy, would you explain item C? Part of this has to do with some authority given to me, so I ask you to.
Right. As we get moving into the phase 1 siding, fencing and painting project, there will be, work will be moving fast. So the first one is just that the request for
Betsy,
proposal.
can you screen
Oh,
up
I'm
here?
so sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. The first request is that we're asking the board to authorize you, President Baker, to approve the RFP, the request for proposal that will go out to the vendors rather than waiting for another board meeting, which will delay the process. And secondly, that any change orders that come out of the project over my $5,000 limit go to you, John, for approval. And of course, all of these would be coming with Paul Reeves' recommendations first. It wouldn't be just the vendor saying, hey, I need more money. It would be vetted through Paul and then to you.
This has really come out of our kickoff meeting with Mr. Reeves, trying to get this schedule going. So we tried to brainstorm how we can make this efficient as possible. So any questions from the directors?
I think it's a great idea.
I like it.
If I may have a motion, please.
I move that we accept the proposal.
May I have a second?
I second.
Any objection? So approved. Okay, Betsy, you're going to have to explain this last one because I don't get it.
Well, yeah, you're not just an HOA, you are a debt collector under the eyes of the legislation. And so there are some new requirements that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is making of debt collectors. And so we are presenting the board with a recommended revision to the delinquency policy to bring it into alignment with the new legal requirements, which is basically that you send a validation letter, which has to follow a very specific format. So it's, this validation letter as required by the CFPB. And so if we're going to do that to comply, we have to take the delinquency policy and tweak it a little bit. And so you're being asked to approve the revised delinquency policy. And there's the proposed resolution, if anybody wants to move it.
Have a motion, please.
so move. I second. No.
Without objection, so approved. Okay, it's 8:05. Now time for the second homeowner forum. Would anyone like to speak? Oh, good. Oh,
Diane Duraway. Just in reference to the painting samples, I don't know about everyone else here. I'm a retired art teacher, so I like color. But the thing is, if I come in here and I say, oh, I like that color and I like that color, I think we should also have a palette of what we currently have.
Oh, so it's there.
Is it there? The top ones. Okay, see, that's not, I mean, I think that then that should be
Yeah, we can make
separate
it.
labeled or separate, right?
Yeah,
Because
we need to add some labels and we're removing a color and yeah, we need to do a little updating there.
Thank you.
thank you, Diane. No. I think Gilda Radner used to say that. Never mind. Yeah. Anyone else?
Oh my gosh, did you warn me?
You
Jesus.
saw me lift it
Oh.
up.
You've never banged it that hard.
Oh, my gosh.
You sounded like-
Jeez.